I give every character a chance, no matter what their kit looks like. Genshin is a game where you can do so many things, and stopping at a fewer characters that are on top of the food chain just sucks all the fun out of it for me. Dahlia unfortunately really tested this approach. But since we have a new endgame mode, plus Imaginarium Theater became a little bit harder recently, we all requested a higher number of units. To add to that, we also have a new incredibly strong hyper carry that can slot in Dahlia. So I stress test this duo, calculated the damage output of a few combos and compared that to other units you might choose for Skirk, with some surprising results. So let's give Dahlia a chance for 5 minutes. First, we quickly recap what he's able to do, and then I will show you my Calcs. His kit is very simple. Using his 60 energy cost burst provides two things: a Hydra shield and his one and only buff, an attack speed boost that depends on his HP, capped at 20% unless you have his C6, which increases this buff by 10% for possibly 30% total. The shield has a stacking mechanic that can be used to recast it when broken, since it's actually a pretty frail shield. Even with the high talent level and on a full HP build, this will often not even cover one hit from a strong enemy in floor 12. He will work somewhat similarly to Baiju, but the difference is in the way the shield is refreshed. Dahlia can collect stacks that are consumed automatically to recast it. You get 1 stack every 4 normal attacks from anyone, and you get 2 but with an 8 seconds cooldown when freeze is triggered. You can get 4 stacks at most, so 5 shields. And while testing him, I also noticed that multi-hits from enemies, something like a ranged attack from a Ruin Guard, have a high risk of just destroying multiple shields. And that's because the shield is recast almost instantly. This can be both a good or a bad thing depending on the scenario. We also have his skill, and this is a weird one. It's something you can summon on the ground, and when an enemy steps on it, it does damage, but if you step on it, you will bounce up in the air, which enables a plunge. The problem is, this only happens once, and honestly, while I think it's kind of a cool detail, I don't really see the point of it aside from some niche boss or having fun in co-op. So what can we do as far as builds? Dahlia multipliers for a Hydra unit are actually somewhat decent, but the frequency is abysmal, as the skill and burst just hit once. Also, all of his damage scales off his attack, while his shield and attack speed buff scale off HP. We have a classic case of detrimental split scaling. You are for sure not slotting in Dahlia in a team for his damage, so we have to look at how much HP is necessary for his attack speed buff. And if we were to remain with more stats to allocate, what do we do with them? The thing is, without accounting for too many substats or HP weapons, you might need triple HP main stat and Hydra Resonance to reach the HP necessary to max out his buff, which happens at 40k HP. And looking at what you could do with weapons and sets, well, it's kinda sad. His build will literally boil down to Favonius plus reaching that 40k HP. If any stat is left, it's going to be as much crit rate as possible to pray that Favonius triggers within its couple of hits, which reminds me of many other Mondstadt characters with the same approach. He also doesn't have many sets. Tenacity doesn't activate more than once, Cinder City would only give you 12% damage, and the only real option remains Noblesse. Full circle, take your Diona or Mika build and give it to Dahlia. That's pretty much it. Technically, you could also make hybrid builds where he uses Freedom or Peak Patrol, but both are kinda weird. Freedom requires 2 reactions, which might be hard for him but technically doable, and Peak adds another split to his skilling. Honestly, you're just ignoring attack, but you will still have to juggle between HP, defense and ER. All in all, with Dahlia, we're basically looking at an entire slot in a team that provides some damage reduction, resistance to interruption, and an attack speed buff. That's it. No off-field Hydra application, no damage, and honestly a really bare bones approach to builds. But let's be honest, you're probably here for Skirk. And while the resistance to interruption of a shield is less needed on her, since she already has quite a bit of it, attack speed is not bad at all, and most importantly, Dahlia is one of the only ways you can activate Calamity of Escher, an incredibly powerful 4-star sword and best 4-star option for Skirk, often even better than 5-star weapons. And since our teams ideally included 2 very precise units in Furin and Escoffier, I gotta say that the last slot opens up for Dahlia. The only thing you have to remember is that you must still bring a Hydro character that applies their element from off-field, as you need it for Skirk's Void Rift generation. A triple cryo team with Dahlia unfortunately will not work. I calculated the jump from the craftable sword to Calamity of Ashu to be between 4 and 7%, depending on which set you're using. But if we were to calculate something a little bit more practical, we could see the difference in damage between having a random Trilling Tales plus Noblesse user, someone like Charlotte, and a C0 Dahlia, who is giving us a better combo with the attack speed buff, the jump to a better weapon, and still brings Noblesse. And Dahlia wins this one with a damage gain of about 10%, which is pretty big. But this is unfortunately still quite behind someone like Silali. She has her own problems, with a not so tanky shield and rotation adjustments often needed, but she's regardless buffing the entire team much better. But I think that was pretty obvious. And if we were to calculate these scenarios with Skirk's signature weapon, removing the advantage of jumping from Finale to Calamity makes that 10% that Dahlia had in his favor shrink quite drastically to about a 4% better, something that is already quite depending on your exact build. But all in all, I was surprised by these results, and Dahlia does not seem like a bad 4th slot at all. It's still a good upgrade from most characters, but it's still not among the best 5-star limited supports. If they made him a Catalyst user or from Natlan, he would be quite stronger. Also remember that 1/3 of the attack speed he can provide is behind C6, which I doubt many have right now. My calcs are all for C0 Dahlia. So in the end, to be as generous as possible, we have to consider that the game is now requiring us to build 3 different teams for the new endgame mode and is also making Imaginarium Theater a little bit harder. Both good reasons to at least consider building more characters. Dahlia is going to be a character that can be very useful as a last slot in a Skirk team, but in my opinion, very hardly anywhere else. I try to be as complete and honest as possible in evaluating Dahlia. I really like his design and I will personally try my best at finding some more unique use out of him, but I'm very curious to hear what you think, especially if you decided to level him up. Thank you for watching, like and share if you want to see more, and see you next time.